Collectively, us as a group.
Oh, we're the Dick Mittens?
We're the Dick Mittens. I imagine that if we formed an a cappella band that covered top 40 radio hits from the year 2002, we would be the Dick Mittens.
What is a top radio song from 2002?
I don't know. I can't remember.
I have to look this up. 2002.
It must be bad.
Top 100 Billboard. There might be some great ones on there. You don't know.
No.
Oh, there you go. Number 1, How You Remind Me by Nickelback. We're already on a good start.
Here you go, the Dick
Getting
Mittens.
Hot in Here by Nelly.
Oh, God.
In the End, Linkin Park. I mean, who doesn't love that? Ooh, wow. Fat Joe's on here. Ashanti, before she was dead. I think she died. Didn't she? Wasn't she the chick in the plane crash?
I don't know. I don't remember.
No, I think maybe she is still alive. I don't know. There's some rap chick who was dead. That's the one I remember.
I didn't even know. I just threw that out there. That was a pretty good list right there. I think we've got a nice lineup for the first EP for the Dick Mittens, gentlemen.
I definitely believe that your number 1 single off of this, if it's a cappella, has to be Blurry by Puddle of Mud.
Oh, absolutely.
Because that was number 10 that year, and I can't think of a better song to do a cappella.
I will start working on the treatment right away.
Excellent.
How are you feeling, Austin? I know that you're poorly.
Yeah, I'll be good.
What is it? Flu? Avian flu?
Gonosyphil herpal AIDS?
Yeah.
That's the worst.
I hear that's pretty serious.
Mouth herpes are never fun.
As opposed to genital herpes, which are a blast.
I thought hand herpes were kind of cool. You just tell people you have leprosy, touch all their shit, be like, ooh.
And here's your temporary ID, sir. I'm just going to put that in your mouth, open wide.
There you go.
Now keep it there for 2 days. Make sure you keep it nice and moist, or they're not going to be able to read it properly.
This got off to a gross start.
I always have to ask, is this recording at this point?
Yeah.
Okay, because I always, I never know when the Blister Thumbs podcast starts, and I'm like, oh, it's about to begin, guys? You're like, no, actually we started back when you told that embarrassing story about pooping in your grandma's vase when you were 23 years old. And I'm just like, oh, well, at least grandma's dead, so she won't have to know about that. But still.
When I start the Skype call, a little thing pops up. It's like, would you like to start recording? And I can't say no. I would just be rude.
Oh, okay.
So. You never know what you might miss.
Do you use Pamela?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's tough to turn down a whore like that.
Pamela goes with everybody.
She goes with everybody. She's always asking, can I service you? Reminding me when people's birthdays are.
She likes the groups the best.
Yeah.
Yeah, likes it when there's more than 2.
She's a finicky bitch, though. There's some days she just don't want to work.
Yeah.
This intro will give us the moral high ground when discussing feminism later.
You know it.
Pamela, you cunt. Anyway, guys.
What better panel to judge feminism than 3 white dudes on the internet?
Best forum, best eclectic mix, right topic. I can't for the life of me think of a better combination, gentlemen.
We've asked women to come on the podcast before, BT and Channel Awesome ladies, but,
ladies.
Something always comes up.
They look at the last episode's name, and it's like Dick Paget Fairy Monster, and they're just like, maybe I don't want to do this podcast.
Although I have to give them this. They've gotten pretty elaborate at the excuses that we get. I'm washing my hair just doesn't cut it anymore.
Washing their hair cut it to begin with? Just going to be washing my hair for the next 6 hours.
I don't know.
Well, we could always do tomorrow. You're like, no, it meant 6 hours each day for the next week.
Yeah. I don't know. I don't know how long people wash their hair for.
Do you know how long you wash your own hair for?
I got a vague idea.
I feel like you should really get a better handle on that shit, dude.
I have trouble. Every time I take all my clothes off, I just sort of black out for a little while, and then I wake up screaming.
I'm sorry, what did I miss? I went to get a drink, and I came back, and all I heard was screaming.
Nothing. Nothing that won't come out in post. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another stirring episode of Your Best Friend's Birthday Party at 6 years old. Today, on Your Best Friend's Birthday Party at 6 years old, we're going to be talking about Megan Mullally. Cooties? Is she an outbreak just waiting to happen? We're also going to be talking about how your other best friend got your best friend a better gift for his birthday than he got you. Is there something going on behind the scenes? We're also going to be discussing the possibility of loot bags at the end of the party, and how crazy awesome the loot therein might be contained. But first of all, it's going to be our roundtable discussion, me, your host, Johnny Maloney, joined with my regular friend, Mr. Austin Yorsky, and a special welcome to guest commentator, Chris RolloT Larios. Gentlemen, roundtable discussion today. Girls, are they icky?
I was the Megan Mullally of my school back when I was a child, so I sympathize with her struggle and plight.
Well, this is an interesting question to ask. Cooties, is the threat real?
I'm super embarrassed talking about
Yes.
cooties because that was totally a thing when I was in school.
Is this something that the liberal media is pushing our way to keep us under the yoke of their oppressive government? I don't remember seeing cootie stats this high when we were under a true red-blooded American government.
You said yolk and red, now I'm just thinking of ketchup and eggs.
No, I'm hungry.
Sorry, what were we talking about? McCarthyism or something like that?
Girls, are they icky?
Yeah, they are communists. And icky. I agree.
Austin.
I heard cooties vaccinations make you mentally challenged.
Now that's just not funny. Austin.
I'm raising the bar this episode.
How dare you? I am offended.
By the pseudoscience or the reference?
No, actually, the reference is quite clever. I think that you deserve applause for. I'm actually offended by the real pseudoscience around the vaccination problems in America.
Oh, this is the comment thread we want.
I'm sorry, it's a sore spot for me.
Oh, geez.
All right. Elevated now. Cootie shots. Do they give you autism?
Oh my god.
So confused. Is this a video game podcast?
No.
Usually not for a few minutes, at least.
Oh, okay.
I wonder how many people listen every week and skip the first 20 minutes.
I don't know. I hope not that many people. Sometimes I rack my brains for these openings. Sometimes they come very naturally. Sometimes I'm just like, oh, God, what's it going to be? Beef, the podcast? No, that's stupid.
As if stupid's ever stopped you before.
Hugging your grandmother. The technique discussion.
It's just you mainstreaming heroin at the back, at the base of your fridge. Just like, I need ideas, man, please.
No. It's the psilocybin and the acid that you go to for the real ideas. That's you don't touch the opiates. The opiates are just sort of like, you know what would be great? Lying down the podcast.
That'd be a pretty pimp podcast. Just lay down and be like, what's up? Nothing? I'm going to bed. It's an hour and a half of me snoring at that point.
It would be pretty to the point. I mean, it would probably be the most focused podcast we've ever done.
I bet Doug Walker could do that, and it'd probably get 10,000 views at least.
But then, everybody would complain about it afterwards.
Yeah.
They would all
somewhere
watch.
out there, there'll be a fervent fan who will also be like, this was the best thing in the world, and it saved my life. It really reawoken my creative muse.
Well, correct me if I'm wrong, though. Didn't Andy Warhol do a movie of somebody sleeping just called Sleep?
He did a bunch of those. There's the one called Head. It's just someone giving head, and there's one about Margaret Mead's ass. That's a thing.
Yeah. But very specifically, didn't he do a movie of somebody sleeping?
I would not put it past him. That sounds like something he would do.
I'm going to Google that shit.
Half of our podcasts are just Googling noises.
Yeah.
Yep,
Yeah,
sleep.
he did. It's sleeping for 5 hours and 20 minutes.
5 hours, good lord.
Yep.
Do you think he'd still be offended if someone fell asleep watching the movie, though? He'd be like, hey, dick, I worked hard to make this art. Throwing pencils at the back of their head and shit. Because this didn't play at a whole bunch of theaters. This had to be one theater, right?
That's
I don't think Andy Warhol's
question.
I don't think Andy Warhol's stuff is theater. I think that's you play it in the back of a party while everyone's sitting around smoking and talking.
Oh, okay. So this is party jams.
For a very narrow definition of jams, yeah.
Yeah, you put it up on the big screen while you play Chris Shepard's Pirate Radio 3.
What are you even talking about, Johnny?
Is that I'm sorry, is that like a Canadian thing?
I would assume.
Chris Shepard's Pirate Radio. No? That's not ringing any bells for anybody?
Oh, no one knows what you're talking about.
I'm more lost than I have ever been in my life.
I'm sorry, I
just tried Googling for anything else, and apparently it's like a really bad romance movie directed by Woody Allen.
Yep.
And then I tried Googling for a new topic, and it just brought me to seminar things.
Johnny?
Yeah.
First of all, that just with the most obscurest references, even if we would have gotten that, how would we have made that funny or segued it into video games?
That's not my problem.
You take one for the team, Johnny.
Up yours.
He leads in with Teapot Dome Scandal, and he's just like, all right, you guys carry this reference from here.
But I mean, but you guys know generally what I'm talking about. I'm assuming that you guys got similar weird mixed CD, bad '90s dance music. Is that was that a Canadian thing exclusively?
That's what I call music things?
I guess, yeah.
Yeah, we have those. I don't acknowledge them.
Yeah, no. I don't know, when you're 16, you make fun of Kids Bop, but then you get older, and you're just they're not going to go away, so you kind of stop thinking about it.
Oh my god, my brother sent me the Kids Bop edition of Macklemore's Thrift Shop.
I have heard that one. That's pretty bad.
He just sends texts to me all the time, just quotes from that song, just the Kids Bop version, all the time for no context. Just what a fucking asshole.
Isn't it just they take the line that's "this is fucking awesome," they change it that is a really good deal I got.
Something like that, yeah.
Do they include the R. Kelly line still?
They changed it to something else. It's it smells like my old baseball mitt. Haven't been washed in a week or something like that. They keep the impression of it, but they remove the reference itself.
How very labored. I wonder if that was worth it in the end for them.
I'm sure it did. I'm sure they sold a lot of that crap. If they're still making it, they have to be making some kind of profit.
So, video games, you guys. What's up with them?
They're pretty fun.
Most of the time. Most of the time. Unless, let's say you're dealing with an obtuse controller.
I'm what? Oh, no. God damn it, Johnny.
Obtuse controller?
I like how he just immediately segued into it, but he had to, stretch for it right off the bat. He's I want to talk about this story.
A lot of people have...
There's no time to flow into it naturally.
All I'm saying is a lot of people have issues with the Kinect, and while the software that comes out for the Kinect can be categorized as video games, a lot of people are those aren't really fun.
Okay, so that's where you're getting at?
That's what I was getting at.
Obtuse controller means?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. So there's no other big news about a other system that's using a very unorthodox peripheral, we might say, for a controller?
Funny you should ask that, Chris, because as a matter of fact, there is. Not that long ago, we discussed on this show the possibility for the Oculus Rift, the VR headset, to be a fertile design ground for porn games. As weirded out as we were by the fact that there was a company out there that was making a 3D VR erotic adventure, I think this absolutely takes the cake. I'm talking about a new game that's going to be coming out on the PC, designed for the Oculus Rift, called Custom Made 3D. And while the idea of sexy maids in video games not really that new, and now, of course, VR porn games not being that new either, Custom Made 3D has a particular accoutrement. I'm going to go ahead and say joystick that makes it a rather unique experience. Austin?
Don't pass this off to me. I've been waiting all week to hear you read this.
Okay. Well, this peripheral that I'm talking about is called and I shit you not, the Juicy Air.
Johnny?
Yep.
How does one operate the juicy air?
The juicy air actually operates very similarly to, say a dick mitten.
If you will.
It's a little wireless enclosure that it encloses over what appears to be.
Why are you pussyfooting? It's a PlayStation Move for your dick.
It's a PlayStation Move for your dick.
John, you have to read this. Come on.
Am I reading the release on
anything about it?
Just anything about it? Anything at all about it? Okay, all right. So I'm looking for the actual link to the site right now.
I think the site's in Japanese.
Okay, the site may be in Japanese. So I'll read this custom-made 3D, the erotic computer game with a cock controller, is grinding out a historic update. Oculus Rift VR support. VR gaming with things people put their penises in will never be the same. Basically, the juicy air has an analog stick on it and an action button, as well as a left and right click. And it will respond and react in real time to stroke speed and depth.
Here's the big question, Johnny.
Yeah.
I can't even do it. Do you think GameStop takes them used?
Oh.
I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say I doubt it.
Oh my god, this is the best news story ever. Actually, someone sent me this on Twitter because we covered the Wicked Paradise thing. And if you didn't listen to that episode, we were kind of upset, or at least I was, because the way they promoted it was like, from ex-Call of Duty developers comes the new horizon in erotic entertainment. Like, it was really classy, really big. And now this thing comes out. It's going to be, first of all, the first, like, Oculus Rift porn game. So it already stole Wicked Paradise's thunder. Second of all, it's not just like, ooh, look at the 3D. It's like actual dick controller. Like, this is the future.
I have a couple of questions. I'm curious if the juicy air comes with a sleeve that you wrap your penis in before applying the controller to it. I would hope so, but I'm curious about that. I'm also curious whether or not it's dishwasher safe, before I decide to pick one of these up, because obviously what would stop me from picking one of these up?
I have a very big question.
Fire away.
I want to know, does it come with an air purifier to clean the smell of shame, cum, and tears out of your parents' basement after you use it?
You mean like at the end of a particularly hot and sweaty game of custom-made 3D, does it spray a little air freshener out?
Like, does it wipe it away so that when your mom comes down to do the laundry, she doesn't just see it and just smell it and like, I knew I should have aborted you.
Do you guys want to see what the game looks like?
I've seen what the game looks like. Okay.
Because in the thing I sent you, it's just like information about the actual like Japanese website here. It's actually not like explicit or anything. This is like, I mean, it's weird and wrong, but it's not like.
Like, is it that different from a regular, like, I never played an erotic game, but I've like grasped the premise of them. Is it any different from just like, it's a moderately well drawn anime chick with text underneath her and you select different options?
I think what you're thinking of is like an erotic like visual novel, like Eroge, yeah. I guess I pronounce it. This just kind of looks just like from what I can tell, just kind of like a first person sex simulator thing. I don't know how much like there is to it.
It's a beat 'em off. It's a side scrolling beat 'em off.
I wish it was like Fallout 3. But like there's no gun, it's just your dick. You walk around and find things to fuck.
Oh my god. I had a really deep RPG system, and you can put all the different stats into like staying power and like volume of ejaculate, all these different It's just like really,
Dribble
really
speed, like, but there's still got to be like a moral system in the game. Like you can still blow up Megaton, but blowing up Megaton is just like blowing your load on some like dead hooker's face or something. I don't know.
God.
Something horrible, but like it's just got to be the entire world is out there for you to explore. But the sole purpose to explore is to find more things to fuck with a virtual penis.
Oh my God, you guys! I've just discovered that this isn't the only product.
What do you mean? That from the same company? Or
No,
the same...
there's a competitive market for
Oh.
Someone beats the punch on the dick mitten.
Are you looking at that, Austin?
I'm looking at it. It's not. Is that a game peripheral? It just looks like a robot sex machine.
It connects to your computer via USB, and it synchronizes with an erotic game called Cross Days.
I'll put a link for listeners so they can see it if they want to. I guess. Yeah. I'm not even like offended or like disturbed. This is just actually like straight up funny to me.
I mean, like, you know, you can just buy a fleshlight if you really need something to have sex with. I mean, it's still not like the honorable decision, but it's definitely a lot more socially acceptable than buying a fuck robot.
Honorable, like a fucking samurai.
Yeah.
I could commit seppuku, or I could buy a fuck robot.
Like I could still buy a fleshlight and get buried in a cemetery. I feel like they don't have to throw my body out to shore at that point. But if I buy this, no, Mama's not coming to my funeral.
The funny thing is that, like, actually looking at this thing, if somebody came across this thing in, like, you know, if next to a bunch of other gaming peripherals, I don't think they would be like, that's for your cock. They'd probably be like, that's, I guess, a weird-looking controller. Because it's
like,
got,
what
like...
is this for Rock Band? They sit down and they're like, where do I drum?
It's got an analog
the
stick
cock
on it.
glove starts lowering, like, oh.
I thought it looked like the next generation of Rob the robot from the NES. Just give it like little googly eyes.
Yeah. I still, you know, this does match my general theory of technology, insofar as that something's not really considered to be a technological advancement until you can either use it to A, kill people more efficiently, or B, fuck it.
Oh my God.
It's all about sex and death, gentlemen.
It's got really deep really quick. I don't know. I feel like we could talk about this forever, but we might want to just leave a lot of this to the imagination, because it's like the technology exists. It's funny. Talk about it amongst yourselves.
I think that's probably for the best, Austin. I'm more than willing to take your side for this.
Oh, jeez. The thing is, though, people had to come together and work on this stuff. Like, how do you keep a straight face when you're sitting like in your cramped cubicle, like typing code for this sex bot? Like, you don't just like lean over to the guy across from you and be like, God, it's a hell of a day, Jeff. Like, what are you working on over there in the sex bot labs? Like, I don't know. Isn't that awkward?
Jeff's like, I wanted to be an engineer. I had dreams.
I wanted to help people.
I feel bad for the long-term beta testers that work for the game company. Because it's like, up until that point in time, you've had a pretty successful job at this company. You've tested all kinds of games, and yeah, maybe some of them are pornographic, but you're kind of feeling okay about that. And then, you know, your boss kind of pulls you into his office one day, and it's sort of like, we need you to test our next game. And you're like, yeah, that's what I do here, boss. No big deal. Like, why'd you have to bring me in here to... What's that?
I feel like the refractory period would be a barrier to testing those things.
I'm not sure what you mean.
You can't, because you have to do it like a million times to make sure that there's any bugs.
So you'd have to have a pretty deep beta test team.
Yeah. Oh, Lord. I'm curious if there's a female equivalent of this. I'm afraid to Google it. Well, there has to be.
Did you look at all of the pictures on that link that I just showed you there?
They all look like scary white sex bots to me. Are they different? Oh, okay. Never mind.
They all look like scary white... Oh, okay. Never mind.
And this fourth one, it's just like, oh, there it is. Have you ever seen Burn After Reading?
Oh, yes.
I was expecting like that though, like that sex machine thing that Brad Pitt builds.
And it's not Brad Pitt; it was George Clooney that built it.
Oh, what are that? Yeah, Brad Pitt's in that though.
Yeah, but he didn't build a sex machine.
White people all look the same. Lay off.
He has a point.
I'll take it that I look like Brad Pitt and George Clooney.
We all do.
Fantastic.
Next story.
Yeah, let's get to something a little more dignified.
How do you move on from that?
I guess you just grit your teeth and don't look back.
We'd never speak of this again.
Yeah, it's done. In all senses of the word. To those of you who've been paying attention, to either the gaming sphere or the gaming news sphere, or even the Blistered Thumbs site, which is part of that. In any case, Austin and I got together a couple of days ago, and we recorded a Thumb Wars episode about Phil Fish's departure from the gaming industry. Now, his leaving has spurred a number of different reactions, all from some of his developer friends, developers who don't even know him, all saying that it's a great shame that the industry has lost him. They want him to come back. People saying that it's sad that we've reached this point in time where anonymous assholes on the internet can influence the way this industry works, to a number of people, both anonymous and not anonymous, telling Phil Fish to fuck off, and that they're glad he's gone, and they hope he chokes on a dick. But very recently, celebrity developer who's, I guess, been out of the spotlight, although not far from it, for some time now, Cliff Bleszinski, has actually decided to weigh in on the fray, and wrote an open letter to Phil Fish on his Tumblr blog, Dude Huge Speaks. The blog entry is titled Dynamite Fishing, an open letter to Phil Fish, in which Cliff details both personal experiences with the, I believe, anonymous assholes is how he refers to them, and how that can wear on you. Now, I don't really agree with Cliff Bleszinski very much over things. He and I have pretty disparate views of the gaming industry. But I got to tell you, reading this letter comes both as pretty heartfelt and direct. Like, it's obvious that it's Bleszinski speaking from personal experience and speaking from the heart. There's a particular point in time where he talks about a screensaver that he winds up uploading when he was 15 years old on a BBS, and one of the first anonymous comments he got on it was, "Your dead father could have coded something better," which is maybe a generic insult, but the very fact that very recently Cliff's father had died, so I kind of feel touched by this letter, to tell you the truth. It's pretty honest, it's pretty direct, and I'm really hoping that Phil Fish reads it.
I think Cliff Bleszinski has this weird disorder where he's the most unlikable douche in short form, but like the most like refreshingly honest and like engaging person in long form. Like any huge like blog thing he's ever written, I'm like, yes, exactly. This guy knows what he's talking about. And anytime he's on Twitter, I'm like, shut the fuck up, you asshole.
That's right, because a few months ago, didn't he? He wrote a big article about people, like ladies that he meets at cons or something like that, didn't he?
There was the one I remember is the used games one.
I remember the used games one as well, but there was one he got caught saying something like it sounded really terrible on Twitter, where he was like, "Yeah, con girls are so much fun. We have a drink, we have fun," and it sounded like he was like, being like, "Oh, con girls are sluts. Get a few drinks in them and you can sleep with them." And he wrote this big, long article about how he was like, no, you totally misunderstand that these people are some of the most fun in the world. They're out there. They're crazy. They like dressing up. They like, games. They like talking to you. They like asking questions. They're friendly. They're engaging. They're passionate. And he wrote this big, long thing, and I was like, yeah, cool. But, yeah, the used game one, too. I do remember. That's Yeah, that's weird that you say that. That's pretty accurate, I think, actually. Because, yeah, whenever I see him on Twitter, I'm like, oh, Cliff.
When you and I recorded that thing on Phil Fish's departure, we kind of talked about what we could do or what he could do to prevent kind of stuff in the future. Because, I mean, these people are always going to exist. And I guess our kind of conclusion was just to foster positivity and, like, intelligent discourse to try to counteract that. Basically, Blazitsky went the other way, and it was like, be so much better and so much cleverer than all the trolls that it just makes more people like you to outweigh them. He was like, basically gain so many fans that you don't care about the assholes anymore.
That's good advice, but unfortunately, like, he cites, Patton Oswalt, for example, as, being a person, or Ricky Gervais, because, we have tons of Patton Oswalts and Ricky Gervaises wandering around. These guys are clever to a fault. You can't encourage somebody to be clever.
Have you seen the quality of Fish's repartee? I think what was his comeback line the one time? It was choke on my dick or something. That one got him in a lot of trouble.
Yep. There was also go fucking kill yourself, I think.
So I don't think he's quite in that club where he can shut down all the people with a pithy turn of phrase.
Yeah, I just, for the first time, I sat down and watched Indie Game the movie last night, and I felt it paints actually a pretty sympathetic picture of Phil Fish, to tell you the truth. Because, like, one thing that came across very clearly to me was how passionate he was. How, like, because you could see the tension in him. Like that scene where he's showing Fez at PAX in Boston for the first time, and he's just standing in the background, like, chewing his fingers off, watching people stand in front of this game, and every time it crashes and he has to go and reset it, he's losing it.
That is such a well-made film. Chris, have you seen Indie Game the movie?
I have not.
Oh, it's on Netflix. You should totally watch it.
It's also on Steam.
Oh, yeah, it is.
Get it on Steam?
Yeah, you can buy Indie Game the movie on Steam.
Oh, whoa, I have to pay for movies now?
Well, there's a special edition with, like, 1,000 extra hours coming out. Is that out yet? I can't even remember.
Yeah, it is, actually, and I did watch a couple of those last night. Like, I actually got to see the whole hullabaloo at GDC when Phil Fish is like, Japanese games suck! Yeah,
I actually included that footage in our talk, obviously muted under our conversation, but yeah, I watched it too. He is an abrasive person when he wants to be.
Oh, yes. I think he's an abrasive person even when he doesn't want to be.
That's true. Yeah.
But I felt kind of bad for the guy because I could see that he was a passionate person, that he was really wrestling with this game. Like, it was something that was taking a lot out of him, that he was pouring a lot of himself into, and I don't think he gets his feels in a manageable part of the spectrum. So I think when people come at him on the internet, or, when he gets accosted by whomever, anonymous journalists or what have you, I think it hits him pretty hard.
I hope I live long enough to see, like, the dramatic docudrama they make out of his life, like Walk Hard or Ray, where he's like, there's the big centerpiece would be that GDC, like, where he flips out on that poor Japanese guy, and it's all downhill from there.
He doesn't even really flip out. I mean, the problem is that he expresses himself poorly, like, very poorly.
In this Hollywood adaptation, he would flip out, I'm saying.
Yeah, throw tables, spit in Jonathan Blow's face.
Yeah, exactly. Jonathan Blow would be played by, like, Jason Statham or something.
Now you listen to me, Phil Fish. You never treat me like that again. You got it? Well, there's going to be trouble, and I won't need a witness to prove I'm in the right.
Why would he name drop his game in a threat?
Because it's a really shitty script.
Every time you have the opportunity to plug away. That's what I always say.
So, like, he just hangs out in salons talking about braids all day?
Yeah, absolutely.
Now I kind of want to see that.
The Expendables 2 of Indie Game the movie, starring Jet Li.
You get Notch in there pretty easily, I think. Make him Sylvester Stallone. He's foreign, right? He's, like, from Europe or something. He's already got, like, a funny voice.
He'd be like the mentor figure.
I'd be like the Mickey Rourke character.
The wise master.
I don't think Mickey Rourke qualifies as a wise master per se, but
No.
No, I was talking about Notch because he has the most
okay.
success out of all of them. So they'd be coming to him asking for wisdom, and he'd just be like, I don't know, guys. I made like the most simple game ever. I don't have anything to teach you.
He's like, put more Legos in your shit.
Oh, jeez. But, I mean, do you think that Phil Fish is going to be back? I mean, we kind of expressed hope that he would be, but, I mean, if he actually, like, cut the cord and is off in the Swiss Alps somewhere right now, like, he isn't going to read this.
I don't know. I think he might. I don't want to come crashing down on his character or something like that, but he is known for being particularly dramatic. There have been times where he's deleted his Facebook page and he's deleted his Twitter account and he's not coming on to social media and he doesn't write posts on Polytron anymore and he, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, yeah, I mean, there's no telling. Like, I mean, we've mentioned that there's no real way to know how bad it got for him. The only things that we can really see are the public problems. Like the spats he's had with Kevin Dent, the spats he had with what's his name, Beers. But when it comes to because there are some really fucking frightening shit coming around the net about other people who have suffered similar harassment where developers have discovered that people have been searching for their home addresses. People have been searching for the schools at which their children attend, that's fucking freaky shit.
Video games.
But I mean, I know the internet obviously could be a powerful tool for all that stuff, but I mean, does every, concern of, anonymity on the internet and all that really qualify to this scenario? I mean, I know very little about Phil Fish. I know basically what I've heard on this podcast. But from what I'm understanding, it sounds like this is a guy who's kind of got a very sensitive, he's very thin-skinned. He seems to have some anxiety issues and stuff like that. And a little bit, I don't know if it's melodrama or if this is outright complete chaos in this person's life, but I mean, it's one of those things where it's this guy may leave the internet, but I mean, it's one of those points where just I just separate it from the games he's in. I just don't care. There's a point where I just don't want to know about the people who make my games in this sort of fashion. If this was a guy who worked for BioWare, do you think we'd hear about this? I don't think you wouldn't hear anything about this because he's an indie guy, and the personality of an indie producer could sometimes be almost as much of the charm of the product as even the game itself. So I mean,
it depends. Some personalities attract more attention. I mean, Cliff Bleszinski himself is part of a much larger team, but he is such a strange magnetic force that he has become a household kind of dude, which is strange because, I mean, there are plenty of other people who worked on Gears of War who are probably as talented, if not more, but that's just how it worked out. And we talk about BioWare. I mean, Jennifer Hepler is a name that nobody knew, and then suddenly everyone knew overnight because she was the target of a mass character assassination via the internet.
Because of the gayness.
Well, it was at least partially because she was a woman, and that never goes well. So
I do want to address something that you mentioned, Chris. I know that it wasn't the core of your point, but I saw a number of people responding to Thumb Wars about this as well. The whole idea that you need to grow some thicker skin is I saw that repeated a couple of times, and while I do agree that it's important in life to be able to come face to face with detractors or come face to face with accusers with a thick skin and not let it get to you, but my problem is that that's not a defense for a bunch of people behaving like dickbags.
Well, the defense of saying grow thick-skinned really only apply. I don't know the severity of criticism this guy was getting. I don't know if it was level of man, Fez was kind of a shit game. I'd never want a sequel. Or Fez was fucking awful. I hope you and your family go bankrupt and fucking end up servicing truck stop bathrooms for the rest of your life.
It sounds more like that one.
If it's the latter, then yeah, the idea of just growth thick skin doesn't really apply, because when you're getting harassed on that sort of severity, then it really doesn't matter how much of a defense you have. I mean, that stuff just kind of generally cuts through most people's egos. If that is what the severity he's getting, where it's absolutely vicious, not just any criticism period that may be a bit aggressive, then yeah, I mean, just the logic of grow thick skin doesn't really apply here.
It's important. I mean, it's important to be able to as a developer or as somebody who puts anything out there creatively, like anything at all, like because I know that you do some stand-up comedy, isn't that right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it's like at any point in time, I used to do stage acting, and I've done a couple of short films and things like that, and even just something as simple as doing this podcast. When you put yourself out there in a creative manner, you do need to be able to distance yourself from the work, and that's all fine and dandy if the criticism and any negative speak comes directed especially at the work. But it's when people, shift those borders over and go, that podcast wasn't funny, that one actor wasn't really good, that was a terrible joke, therefore you must die choking on my cock.
Those are always the lovely ones. I mean, those ones you kind of have to learn to grow to kind of deal with them. Some people are going to be equipped to deal with those rather easily. Some people can brush those sort of things off. For other people, it's much harder to take those things with any sort of grain of salt.
Yeah.
If someone tells me, "Hey, I didn't like the newest episode of Weekly Manga Recap, you should go kill yourself," I'm honestly not going to have my day ruined by that, because I just kind of throw that out to the wind. But I know there are other people out there. If you say that similar thing to their creation, yeah, it's going to hurt them a lot more, because they may not be able. They don't have the same sort of ability to throw that kind of comment away. It hits them a lot harder.
Yeah,
And I mean, if that's what this Phil Fish guy has, he doesn't have this sort of defense mechanism to throw those kind of comments away. He takes all of them, exactly as they are, and takes them very personally. Then I can understand that he gets fed up. But from what I've seen, a lot of his tweets and stuff like that, I mean, I don't know much about the guy whatsoever, but I mean, the way it's described to me from a lot of sources just sound like it's a little bit of melodrama to it too.
I just wanted to speak to the point that getting a thick skin is, like, it doesn't address the root of the problem as far as I'm concerned, which is, like don't be an unreasonable dick.
I think in a few weeks it's going to turn out that this is all just a ploy to drum up publicity for Fez 2. Or no.
Does Fez 2 even need any publicity, Austin?
No, better, guys. He realized he couldn't actually top Fez, and this is just his way to get out of it.
He was but we probably have shit. Fez was too perfect. I need
probably
now.
have to wait till he's on his deathbed before he actually fully confesses to that.
No, man, just do it like Andy Kaufman. Is he even really dead? Do we know? What happened to that man? The enigma.
Can you imagine, though, just looking over the design documents, like, after having made Fez, and you're just like, oh, man, I really fucked myself over here.
He's like,
it's kind of weird.
Maybe I should add collectible hats into the game.
Well, it's kind of weird, though, because he had Andy Kaufman as his Twitter avatar, though, didn't he, Phil Fish?
Yeah.
I think you might have really nailed it on the money there, Chris.
Have I solved the Pandora's not Pandora's box? That's different. I'm mixing up my analogies.
The Da Vinci Code.
The puzzle of doom. I've solved the puzzle of doom.
What was the thing from Hellraiser?
Oh God! Oh, that's gonna bother me.
I've solved the Millennium Puzzle. There we go. I found a much nerdier reference to go with.
Is that a Yu-Gi-Oh thing?
Yeah.
Okay.
It doesn't really make sense either, because solving the Millennium Puzzle just gave you like an Egyptian alter ego thing, but whatever.
Close enough.
Yeah.
I'm looking up the Hellraiser thing now, because it's gonna bother me too.
It's gonna so bother me. It's gonna bother me. Oh God.
Freaking out.
Fuck. all I can remember is the name of the Cenobites. The Cenobites.
The podcast comes to a screeching halt as we desperately Google Hellraiser puzzle box. The lament configuration. That's what it's called.
Thank you.
Lament configuration. However, I'm surprised.
I lament that I was not able to remember that.
It's not exactly the catchiest name. It doesn't roll off the tongue.
No.
Whatever happened to that series? Are they still making those?
I hope not.
I'm
I'm not slagging on Hellraiser, don't get me wrong, but there comes a point in time where every good horror movie series descends into the abyss.
Like the third entry, probably.
It's usually about the third or fourth entry, yeah.
So you're saying Paranormal 4 or Paranormal Activity 4 won't be a classic? Because I'm planning on lining up this weekend to make sure I get my tickets in time.
Well,
I don't know if 4 months early is enough, but I'm hoping.
Yeah, it might fall a little short of expectations. Possibly.
I heard this time, family gets haunted by a ghost or a demon.
Are they really only on 4? With how easy that would be to make, you'd think they'd be 27 by now.
I think they just do it like Saw, where they're just one per Halloween. Because I think the next one's supposed to come out around Halloween.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna move into the what we played this week thing, you want to start with Chris in case he has to go? Because me and Johnny have all night. We have no social lives or anything.
Yeah,
This
sure.
is the only human contact I get all week.
That's horribly tragic and sad.
It's not that bad. I mean, you don't know most of the people that I live around, so it might actually be the best thing for me. Canadians, secret assholes.
Canadians are great. I've never met a rude Canadian.
That's how good they are at keeping the secret.
Like we just walk by and he's just like, "Hey, thanks for visiting Canada, eh?" And you drive up and they're just like, "You fucking asshole." That's when he reveals the bag of sugar in his hand that he just poured into my gas tank. He's like, "I knew it." No. You guys may have heard that Steam recently had a sale.
Just a little one.
I resisted. I was very good until I came on one day and I saw Knights of the Old Republic 2 for $3.
Oh yeah!
I was like, I love Knights of the Old Republic 2. It's only $3. How could this go wrong? So 2 days later, I had 21 new games and spent a lot more money than I had thought I was going to.
That's how it always happens, man. You black out for a couple of days, and then you're like, what happened?
Friday, I clicked buy on KOTOR 2, and then I woke up Tuesday morning with a beard and my eyes were all glazed. I was like, what just happened? What the fuck's roused, and why do I have it?
You've got your mouse is wedged in your mouth. You've got this keyboard imprint of the WASD keys stuck into your face. It's yeah.
Why did I buy the Fear 2 DLC? I don't even own Fear 2. No, I purchased a lot of games through that. And the one I'm playing right now is I've actually jumped back into Borderlands 2, and I'm playing that a crap ton at this point.
I don't blame you. I'm famous on this podcast for slagging on the original Borderlands. Famous for it. And people are like, oh, Johnny, and when Borderlands 2 was about to come out, they were frightened to hear that I was going to be reviewing it because they didn't think that I was going to be fair to it. But I really honestly feel that Borderlands 2 was a great game.
And Gearbox never did anything disappointing again.
Nope.
Yeah, no, I've gotten into it, and I originally I have it on the Xbox still, but I've never beaten it. I've never even come close. I think the furthest I've ever gotten is a little bit past Tiny Tina, because every time I've tried playing it, the people I played it with fucking abandoned me, because none of them have jobs, none of them have lives, so while I'm at work fucking busting my ass for the state of Pennsylvania, they're over there fucking finishing the game without me, and then I come back on my level 22 tune, and I'm like, hey, you want to jump in? They're like, oh yeah, sure, I've just only beaten the game twice, don't worry, I'm sure this won't ruin the experience for you. Yeah, it's infuriating. So now I'm on the PC, I'm trying it again. I'm hoping maybe by doing it alone, I can finally play the game and beat it.
You'd think they would have some kind of feature where they could even out the levels or bring them down to yours.
No, fuck it. Even if they did have it, I don't want to play with those assholes. Fuck them. We made a promise.
Just on principle,
yeah,
fuck those guys.
It was just one of those moments where it was just dude, what the fuck? You didn't you didn't fuck my girlfriend, but you might as well have. It feels like the exact same level of like a betrayal of trust at this point.
And then, like, when you want to watch the cutscenes, they're like, fucking, I've seen this already. And then, like,
They're
you're
like,
sitting around
oh,
listening
Brick's
to somebody
coming up
talk.
soon. And I'm like, fucking A!
Yeah. I feel you, man.
They're like, oh, hold on, just go over here. That's where the quest is. I'm like, well, part of the fun was exploring. And then, like, I'm playing single player, and I'm like, holy fuck, I wish someone would just show me where the fuck I'm supposed to go and do this. So I've been playing a lot of that in my spare time. The rest, I've just been turning on Steam games that have trading cards to collect the cards that I then just give to my girlfriend because she bullies them out of me.
Steam trading cards are the dumbest thing that has ever been brilliant.
I can't believe they're as successful as they are. Like, I cannot believe.
On an unrelated note, if anyone has the Borderlands 2 cards for Gage, and I think I need Axton, if you have those, and you don't want them, the RolloT, that's my Steam name, you can just send them my way. I'll take care of those for you.
I'm not good at predicting these things. I said the Wii was going to be a failure. I said that Team Fortress hats would never catch on, and
wow.
And now this Steam trading cards business. That's why I stick to reviews. Punditry, not my area of expertise. Because I always.
Do you want to make a call at this point now on whether or not the penis simulation game is going to be a massive success or not?
Is it going to be a game changer, Austin?
I think in Japan it will be a super big hit. I don't think it will fit Western gamers.
Oh, I see what you did there.
I think they're going to have a hard time penetrating the market.
Do you think that it's too high a concept to grasp?
How high can we stack these innuendos before we just sound like idiots?
I think we've crossed that line.
Okay, good. Let's keep going.
I've got nothing but contempt for you already. But,
by internet logic, we just have to now push the envelope as far as it will go. I say we extend this discussion just a little bit longer.
Oh, God, look at the time, guys. I have to go wash my hair for 6 hours.
Not again. Always happens. What were we even talking about?
Borderlands 2, naturally.
Oh, no, it was my poor prediction.
Oh, yeah, Steam trading cards.
I always approach these things about, like, how would I react? I was like, I don't want Steam trading cards. That's a dumb idea, but obviously.
But if you get the badges, it levels up your Steam profile page and you add more shit to it. God, Austin, stop being stupid.
As I was saying, most people are fucking hamsters, and they just get on that wheel and they don't give a shit. So. But
you can add screenshots to your. You know what? It's fucking worthless trying to explain it to you. I'm just gonna get my own profile page and put screenshots on air. Get a background. Oh, this is gonna look good.
Do people ever look at each other's profiles? Is that a thing on Steam? Is it like Facebook? I never really use it for that.
I mean, it's kind of amusing because, like, when you look at the E3 like conferences and like the big deal that PlayStation's trying to make of like you can message your friend and be like, here's a guide to the game you're trying to play and like download something and play the single. Like almost everything they're trying to advertise and making the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One social already exists in the Steam client. So this is kind of a little bit of a preview for how little people are probably going to care about those features once they actually get in there. Because I rarely ever go to someone else's page.
Yeah.
Like I know people who use Steam as a social media like platform. Like this is their primary way to stay in contact with some people.
It can be pretty big if you do things professionally. Like if you're a professional gamer or something like that, you know?
Oh yeah.
But
that's true.
For those of us who do things like work and, you know, have girlfriends, it's kind of secondary.
It's actually very ironic in this sense because having a girlfriend and Steam right now, it's like the main activity I have with her at this point. We don't talk much otherwise. It's just like, did you get new cards today? And I'm like, no, I'll go to work and leave Sonic fucking All-Star Racing on and get the cards and send them to you tonight.
All right, pardon me. For those of us who are steeped in culture that doesn't allow you to game all day or doesn't encourage you to game all day, my apologies. I didn't mean to be exclusionary there.
I'm looking at this dude. He's like level 46. He's got a page. It makes his my page look like shit, man. And I could just buy some of these cards if I really need to. That's the sad thing, is that you can buy these cards if you really want to for like nothing. It's like a dime. Like I drop a dime on the floor, Sometimes I don't even pick it up. For that price, I could have a Steam card that can get me a badge.
That kind of weirded me out, actually, because during the summer sale, I decided to sell some of my, near the end of it, I decided to sell my cards off, because I was just like, whatever.
Fucking whore, why don't you just give them to me?
I didn't know you wanted them.
Well, fucking give them to me next time, dickhead.
I will.
This is what the Steam cards do to you. You turn very aggressive.
But it was weird. It was like it was like a 1 hour turnaround, and it was like, yay, 50 cents.
You got 50 cents for a card?
3 cards. I sold 3 cards. Sorry. So that was an interesting experience.
I'm afraid to turn my back on Chris now. He's gonna fucking start knifing people for their Steam cards.
I'm just saying, guys, if you have any, Axton Engage. I need those too. Be RolloT on Steam. Help a brother out.
All right, Johnny, what did you play?
I actually got to play a couple of things this week. I finished with Brutal Legend, and it was really funny because last week I was talking on the podcast about how I felt like Brutal Legend was dragging on a bit too long. It was like immediately after that, the very next battle that I rolled into was the last one. And I was like...
That was convenient.
I was like, oh, that's good. Because it was just... It felt as though they were holding some other cards close to their chest. And I thought we were going to get bigger reveals. But it turns out not so much.
It's all kind of rushed into the last mission.
Yeah. So that just all sort of happened, and it was like, you're done! And I'm like, oh, all right. Huh.
Which game is this?
Brutal Legend.
Oh, so I own it, but I've never played it. Should I?
I quite liked it, but I mean it's kind of elusive. It doesn't set itself up well for what the majority of the game is actually going to be, and I feel a little underwhelmed by its extra content like side missions and things like that.
Yeah, I think your enjoyment is directly proportional to your fondness for like 70s and 80s metal. And
then like the game kind of like sharply turns about I would say about a third of the way through, and then kind of maintains this one particular tone for most of the rest of the game. If you don't like that turn, fucking turn it off and go away, because the game barely changes from that point on. The only thing that you really have to look forward to between these missions are the side quest content, which get bone-grindingly repetitive. But if you don't mind the RTS sections, or if you like the RTS sections, I did, and it compounded with the atmosphere and, like I said, the voice acting and the art design and things like that. And I do kind of like classic metal. I'm not the biggest fan, but, enough to get by, and enough surely to enjoy it. I think it's a good time. The plot drags in the final third, but... like I said, by the time where I was like, wow, this is dragging a bit, it was right before it ended. So I think it did pretty well for myself. I enjoyed it. Take what you will from that. I also got to play more of Call of Juarez Gunslinger. A good portion more, because I talked about it previously on the podcast, but I'd only played like a few missions. I got a couple of hours in. I finished I think 4 or 5 missions this past week, and it's really good. The only complaint I have about it is that I wish that Techland had dedicated more money and manpower to it. Because it deserves to be, like, a deeper game. It deserves to have more going to it. I'm finally past this sort of point where the main character, Silas Greaves, is called into question as a reliable narrator. And you'll be wandering around the level and get the voice over of him talking about each levels and what's going on, and he'll suddenly change his story because either he misremembers something or he's just like inventing this brand new thing that just happens, where he'll be like, but suddenly the path was revealed to me, and then like these rocks will just like part in the level and show this path, and you're like, oh, okay, I guess I'm going that way, and it's like I really like the way that it's your high vulnerability, you get shot a couple of times and that's it. You're dead. But the tools they've put in your hands of just being this, like, army-killing, head-shooting, time-slowing, bullet dodging, like, death-dealing machine put so much weight on your end of the scales that it almost doesn't matter that, like, you run into a room and there are like 12 guys who are all shooting at you. Because in any other game where you're just supposed to get behind cover and, like, pick guys off one at a time, that's a problem. But in this game, you can be like, ha-ha, time slow down, like, dodge bullets, like, throw dynamite, shoot it in the air. It splits into 3 other pieces of dynamite. It blows up 5 guys. But meanwhile, you've turned around and shot this guy in the head, and you're chaining kills the whole time and using the experience to, like, upgrade your experience more and more. It's so frenetic. It's paced as a first-person shooter, kind of unlike any other one that I can think of right now, except perhaps maybe Shoot Mania, because I know that Shoot Mania shares a couple of characteristics of it. I think I'm almost done, because I think it's only like 8 or 9 missions, and I'm on like 6 or 7. So I should be able to say with more definitive authority next week whether or not the whole ride is there. But I gotta tell you that during it, like, if you're there to play the game for the gameplay, you cannot go wrong with Call of Juarez Gunslinger. And it's cheap too. It's not a very expensive title either. It's a budget title, so think about it. It certainly does well enough to wash the stink of the cartel off the Call of Juarez name. So that I was happy about, because that was an unmitigated disaster, and it should have its teeth knocked out and be buried in a shallow grave.
How did we get to the point where the $15 downloadable games are better than the $60 retail games? I missed the transition.
I think it's just the necessity of invention. I think it's that, like, the $60 games are competing in a market where you have to pay, like, thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of people, or fucking maybe that's a little bit of an over-exaggeration. But you have to pay teams of, like, thousands of people tons of money over long stretches of time to make these reality pop verisimilitude, the grittiest, like, Hollywood actor motion capture technology experience you've ever seen to date. And they have to rush it because they realize that nobody's going to pay more than like $60 fucking for a title. And it's like, guys, if we spend any more than these many years making this game, so the story doesn't get edited properly, and they don't have the time or the opportunity to take risky ideas or to try things out, or, the guy in charge of the money says, will it make as much as Call of Duty? And when they're like, well, we hope that, they're like, no, make Call of Duty.
I was going to say, I think it happened when the Meet the Robinsons game came out. But your answer's good, too.
Did they really make a game out of that?
I'm pretty sure Meet the Robinsons, yeah, I think it was a 360 title, actually. Because I remember working at Target and they sold it. And I was just like, all right, I guess we're doing that now.
Alrighty then.
I feel that indie studios get a chance to experiment more, and that they need to distinguish themselves in ways that large budget companies can't, because they're too busy spending their money trying to catch the front runner, and they're too busy trying to make everything real and just like the last major thing that came out, that they're not willing to take the risks.
I've said for a while that we're moving towards an ecosystem where you have a couple leaders in each genre and everything else needs to move down the cost and price scale a little bit.
I just fucking read a newspaper article today about how movie theaters are going to start showing screenings of their movies in advance, like, anywhere between like 2 and 5 days in advance, to people who want to be on the cutting edge of seeing movies for like $50 a pop. Apparently this is something that World War Z did. They had an agreement with a bunch of theater chains, and it was like, you can pay $50 to see World War Z 2 a few days beforehand. And it was like, you got a T-shirt and a little bit of extra swag, and when the movie gets released on digital distribution, you own a copy for 50 clams.
First of all, World War Z can go fuck itself. Second
that was a great movie. Fuck you.
I will eat your babies, Chris. Have you read the book?
No, oh my god, I haven't read the book. I'm so sorry. It was a fine movie regardless of whether or not it was named after the book.
I will hunt you.
He will. He's done it.
I just know he got really close to the mic. I like to think he was crying and tripped and stubbed his toe. He fell into his mic. No, it's him being like, Mommy. By the way, in case you were curious, guys, you can purchase Meet the Robinsons on Amazon for $12, brand new. So, I mean, it's kind of like Qual of Juarez now in price, at least. Or you can get a deal if you get Meet the Robinsons, Monsters and Aliens, and the Megamind game. You can get all of those for under $30. I'm just saying, who needs Steam sales when we have Amazon to give us old crap? Ooh, I can get B-Movie for only $9.88.
Oh my god! Wouldn't it be great if one of those was actually like an underappreciated classic masterpiece and none of us gave it a chance?
Like if you just played Ratatouille, the video game, and you just realized you're like, oh my god, the layers to this are just incredible. It combines gameplay, drama, interactive storytelling at a level that which Naughty Dog could take lessons from. It is incredible. But then you play it and you're just like, how many fucking pieces of cheese do I have to collect? Fuck this.
You heard it here first, folks. Ratatouille the game, predecessor to The Last of Us.
Yeah, but the last thing on that movie thing, I don't understand people who have to see movies as soon as they come out. They're like 100 years of movies to catch up on, guys. It's okay. They're not going anywhere. Calm down.
Incidentally, every Sunday I do a new movie podcast called Exposition Dump that you guys can listen to.
Well, Chris, obviously that wouldn't put you in the fucking category of people who feel like they need to see them just because they need to stay on the cutting edge. You were doing a podcast. That's a thing. You're being productive.
Okay. So I'm not a hamster running the wheel of the establishment?
On the Steam trading card things, you are.
But I give all the cards to my girlfriend. Doesn't that just make me a good boyfriend?
I guess that just makes you the dumber, slower hamster in this equation.
You know what? I'll take that.
Johnny, did you play anything else?
I did.
Before I insult our host guy to quit.
Hey, I only picked one thing to say that I'm playing because I thought that was what we were supposed to do. I'm playing other things, Lab, you know.
Oh, by all means.
I realized that I was going to... Johnny had like 8 different games he's played in the past week that he's got pieces on.
I apologize that we didn't clarify for you. Feel free, please.
No, carry on.
We can do this all night. I ain't got nowhere to be.
It's true.
That's kind of sad as well.
Actually, I have like 4 games I need to review, so if we can hurry this up.
You hurry this fuck up. What else have you played? Fucking some other indie game? That's great.
Well, I guess. I played Shadowrun.
Ratatouille the game?
No, I played Shadowrun Returns. Shadowrun Returns, for those not familiar, is based on...
Does not have Steam trading cards associated with it, so spend your time playing other games like Sonic Adventure Racing.
Not yet, anyways.
Do you think you'll get it later?
Probably.
Because I'm going to hold off playing it until it gets some cards.
Good plan. But Shadowrun is a tabletop role-playing game that kind of blends cyberpunk, fantasy, and sort of a dystopian noir kind of grungy, futuristic thing going on. It was made in the 1980s by FASA Corporation, and what's his name? Weissman, Jordan Weissman, and Jordan Weissman's the man. Well, Jordan Weissman has for years now been working at a place called Harebrained Schemes that makes a variety of different games. They make tabletop games, they make video games, and they are currently the holders of the Shadowrun license. So Shadowrun is still in the hands of the guy who created it. That's not necessarily a great thing because the last Shadowrun game that came out, I'm sure fans of both video games and Shadowrun may remember it as being the attempt at a cross-platform first-person shooter on the Xbox and the PC. I think it's fair to call that one a disaster. I don't know if either of you guys ever played it.
I haven't played it, but I'm aware of it by reputation, that it is, as a thing, not that bad of a shooter, but as a Shadowrun adaptation, a complete and total clusterfuck.
Yes, I think that's fair to say. An apt description, Mr. Yorsky. Well, I believe it was last year, after the whole Kickstarter Shazam that started thanks to Double Fine kickstarting Broken Age. Harebrained Schemes jumped on the train pretty early and decided to kickstart a Shadowrun RPG. And this Shadowrun Returns is the result of that Kickstarter. It's available on Steam now for $20, and I am in it. I'm not in it in terms of, like playing the game, but I'm in it. I'm
like,
in
I
the
can kill
game.
your character?
No, you can't.
Oh.
I tried to kill Johnny, and I was very frustrated when spoilers, he ran like a little bitch.
Of course he did. Fucking Canadians.
But I did trap you, didn't I?
Shh, spoilers. Johnny's character's a dick.
Like, does your character have, like, a personality, or...
I get a couple of lines, and...
oh, you have lines?
Yeah.
So you walk up, and you're like, here I am to capture you.
No, you walk into a place of business at which I work. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, please, right this way.
Sucker.
Take us to the glory hole in the bathroom. I'm just like, really? This was the role in the game you were so proud to have?
Oh, Jesus.
But
Johnny, did you read my review of Shadowrun Returns on BT?
I did actually, and I think it's pretty accurate. It does obviously show that this is a budget title, but for $20, I'm actually pretty pleased with it, to tell you the truth. They asked for $400,000.
Okay.
And they got like $1.8 million, I think it was.
It was a lot more than they asked for.
Yeah.
But it's still not quite as much as you think it is, because first of all, Kickstarter takes 1%. Microsoft took 1% because they had the video game rights for Shadowrun, and then they had to make and distribute all of the physical backer rewards. So apparently, like I was reading a thing, they ended up with like 60% of that at the end of the day.
Yeah.
So they had to really do like the most efficient dev cycle I've ever heard of. They cranked that game out in a year from nothing. It was pretty fucking good.
It ended at the end of April in 2012. So yeah, this game was made in a little less than a year and a half. And for my own money, I rather like it. I mean, I haven't finished it yet. I know that you have, Austin. So if you want to elaborate on any of your thoughts that you have in the review, feel free. But if anybody wants to read Austin's review, it is, of course, up on Blistered Thumbs. And you can feel free to run over and check it out. But the thing is, I think that because I've heard some people complain or read some people complain in forums, and I've talked to a couple of people who are like, yeah, it's not really what I thought it would have been. I think a lot of people were expecting something more along the lines of a like another Fallout or a Baldur's Gate or something like that.
Yeah.
When I was full on prepared because one of their big selling points was how much people loved Shadowrun on like the Super Nintendo and on the Sega Genesis and whatnot. That was one of their big selling points. And I don't know if you've played Shadowrun on the Super Nintendo.
I have not personally, but I'm aware of it, yeah.
But it is almost pretty much exactly this kind of game. I mean, with a few addendums, like that. In that the combat is turn-based and mouse driven as opposed to controller driven. So
Chris has to leave in a little bit. Did you guys want to say real quick anything else you wanted to add, Chris, before you say bye?
No. One of the games that I am playing, just as a little quick mention, I'm playing Pokemon Leaf Green as a Nuzlocke challenge that I'm doing a Let's Play of over on my Twitch page on Thursdays.
I'll leave a link to all your stuff under the cast for people on BT.
Awesome. That we are just about to head into Silph in the game. Nuzlocke Challenge, for those who don't know, is a self-imposed set of rules into Pokemon where you only catch the first Pokemon you run into on each route. When a Pokemon faints, it's considered dead for all intents and purposes, and you must release it. And you have to nickname all your Pokemon. So it's like Pokemon hard mode, basically. And we do that every Thursday at 7 about. I start over at twitch.tv/RolloT. And one other thing I wanted to mention real quick is that
sorry, 7 o'clock, that's Eastern Standard Time,
yes,
right?
Eastern. Well, I always do it by Eastern. It's the only time zone that really matters, to be honest.
It's the important people time zone.
I mean, come on. How many companies really base their entire operations around what time it is in Texas? You know? Nobody. That's who. The other thing I want to mention, though, is that every Friday, for those who were just talking about Shadowrun, if anyone out there is a tabletop fan, there's a tabletop game that I'm a part of that we stream every Friday. It's called D&D Two Worlds that you can find over at twitch.tv/Zulu_Tango. We start it at 7 p.m. It's a really fun game. Highly recommend you check it out if you're into really good stories and some good old tabletop action. Highly recommend it. Other than that, my cat's licking himself. So
in an obscene place?
Absolutely. Is there any other way they lick themselves? Like, I never turn around and see him, like, gracefully licking his neck. It's always, like, he's always nose deep into his own fucking cat tang. Fucking going to town on his cat pooch. No, it's never graceful.
Don't judge. Don't judge. You know you do it.
So I guess if there's one thing that we can learn today from this podcast, it's that if any of us could manage to get our mouths in the no man's land between our balls and our asses, we'd be down there 24 hours a day.
Like if I could get my nose like right into my gooch, then yeah, I guess it'd be there pretty often. But I mean, this cat's really going to town himself. And he's got no shame. He can see I'm staring at him, and he's just kind of giving me a glare like, what?
We learned a lot about each other today.
I feel richer as a person.
All right. We'll talk to you later, Chris.
All right.
Thanks again for joining us.
You gentlemen keep it classy. And
you know us.
Yeah, absolutely. And seriously, World War Z, pretty good movie. Don't
Fuck you with a rake.
Love you too.
Not even the good end of the rake, by the way.
Oh, the pointy ends?
Yeah,
so mean.
Well,
cruel.
Have better taste.
See if I take your Steam cards. I really will, though. If you don't, if you have any you don't want, just send them my way. Once again, the RolloT, send me your Steam cards back.
Where was I?
Shadowrun, it's a game.
Yep.
It's also way more linear than a lot of people thought it was going to be.
Yeah, and I mean, like, the Super Nintendo game was quite linear, though. That's the thing, you know? Like, it was a noir story set in this like dystopian, futuristic, cyberpunk, fantasy-ridden world. You know, like it was a really, really good game. And this one too, I feel like has the juice to be a really good game as long as you go in knowing what you're inspecting. Like, I mean, it's the same reason for why when you're playing like a side scroller beat 'em up, you're like, this is the worst racing game I've ever played. That doesn't make any fucking sense, you know.
As long as you know what you're in for and it is what you are looking for. Like, this is a very railroaded tabletop campaign. It's not sandbox. It's not open world. I said in my review, it's not Mass Effect. There are not big, important choices you need to make. You know, there's a story it wants to tell. You're going along for the ride. You have a couple little different, you know, paths to approach it, but it's all roads lead to the same hellhole in Seattle.
It's got a great setting. There's a pretty good supporting cast. It's the campaign's not as long as some people might think, although I know that they're doing some story DLC for it, as well as the fact if you buy the game, it gives you access to the editor, and I just know that we are going to get some really, really ace player design campaigns.
Hopefully, that's the difference. This could be just a fun little thing, one little chapter, or this could be like a platform for some epic fucking adventures if people really try and, you know, dig into it. I am not capable of getting in there right now, but I'm excited to see what people make.
I have some pretty high expectations of the Shadowrun community because this will mark basically the first time that you've been able to make a Shadowrun campaign in a video game and get anybody to run it. I mean, what with how easy it is to get your campaigns out there with the Steam Workshop now, because Shadowrun is going to be Workshop compatible. And it has to be said too that the character design and character leveling system is pretty deep. I mean, you can go back and play it again as like a wholly new design character and pretty much change almost the entire way that you play it.
Mm-hmm. I rolled a couple different characters just to check them all out, make sure everything worked, and yeah, there's a surprisingly flexible system in place for doing different kinds of characters and different play styles, different approaches.
I don't think
good.
that's unusual though, because it is, it does take its dictations from a tabletop system. Because, as a tabletop system, games like Shadowrun, for example, have had years to hammer out a bunch of faults and defects and try and nail down, the best way to get this one particular thing to work. And I think that they've translated it well here. I think that Harebrained Schemes has had a good run for it. It plays well for what it is, and I quite like it. I'm quite looking forward to the DLC as well, which is going to take place in Berlin, I believe.
Yep, that's what I'm hearing. It mostly just really makes me want to play Shadowrun, the tabletop game. I don't know anybody nerdy enough in real life, so that's probably never going to happen.
You don't know anybody nerdy enough in real life locally.
Well, the internet doesn't count. The internet is made of nerds.
I would say that you and I probably know each other in real life. We have each other's phone numbers, we text, we talk every week. The only non-real life thing about it is that we never sit across a table from each other with a cup of coffee in our hands and look at each other like we're sick and tired of spending time together.
See, that's the special experiences me and Taylor have shared that you could never have.
I've had that experience with Taylor as well, though. So
Taylor is a two-timing whore.
Taylor is the biggest slut on this website.
That's why we love him.
Yeah, it's true. But those are my thoughts on Shadowrun. I haven't finished the campaign yet, but I just finished the place of business
where you find yourself.
Where I find myself employed. So would you where would you say I am in the campaign?
Oh, you're a little past halfway.
Okay.
In my review, I said it's about 6 to 8 hours. But I mean, as I was telling you, Johnny, I'm not exactly sure how long I played it. My Steam thing currently says 14 hours, but as I said, I rolled up a bunch of different characters to try out all the different builds. I played around with the editor for a while, so I'm not 100% on the time. So
yeah.
I think 8 is probably the safe bet there. But I think if you're experienced, it's not a hard game. I think if you're kind of an old school vet, you could probably get through it in 6.
Yeah. I do want to say this one thing in defense of excuse me, of Shadowrun Returns, is that there's a lot of people that are like, oh, what the hell, we kickstarted your game for like $1.8 million and this is all we get. I'm seeing this in forums. But I just want to clarify here that most of the people paid $15 for this game. As a backer for a Kickstarter, I think it's a terrible idea to claim that you are entirely responsible for the total sum amount of money that we as a community gave them. But you can look at the very bare minimum that they were asking for you to get a copy of the game. And for Shadowrun Returns, it was $15.
It's an indie game, guys, at an indie game price. So
yeah.
Also, like I said, they got 1.8, but you take off Kickstarters, I think it's like 10%. You take off Microsoft's 10%. You take off the whatever it is for the physical goods. You're looking at a really small budget. I mean, how much can you pay a team of 20 or 30 people over a year and a half with $1.5 million? Like, that's like poverty line for a team of 30.
Yeah. So if you go into it thinking that it's going to be an indie game, that it's going to be a budget title, and that it's going to have and I think it's well written. I do. I like the characters. I like the setting. Shadowrun's almost fucking, made for me, man. Futuristic, fantasy, noir. I'm in fucking hog's heaven.
You've actually run a Shadowrun game, right?
I have run a Shadowrun game for when I was working at the game store.
How hard is it to keep all that slang straight? That would be the thing I would think if I was trying to role play that. I would probably just talk like myself. There's no way I can remember all that stuff. It's cool to read, but to say it?
Well, I mean, Austin, you're talking about the difference between actually role playing and role playing totally in character. I've LARPed before, man.
I'm not saying that it has to be 100% authentic, but I feel like you want to spice it up, throw some of that in there if you can.
Yeah, probably. But I mean, it depends. It really depends on what kind of groups of players you're working with, right? If you're working with a bunch of guys who are similar with Shadowrun, it's pretty easy to throw the slang in. You know, even just like throwing in the word Drek every now and again or something and referring to it as the Matrix rather than the internet or something is, you know, it comes a little more naturally, but...
I don't know. I don't understand people who play tabletops for the combat. I feel like you're not leveraging the medium properly. Like, a tabletop is like the advantage is the freedom to role play that outside of what would be in a video game. A video game is like it'll crunch the numbers, but it can only go so far laterally. You know what I'm saying?
I will
creatively.
Absolutely agree with you. Absolutely agree with you there. If you're going to be playing a tabletop game, you better be like writing your own stuff. Because even the stuff that comes in the packages and things like that, although, you know, like I know that D&D 4.0 these days has some slightly better packaged campaigns than what I might be used to as someone who played back in like 2nd edition and 3 and 3.5 and whatnot. But still, if you're not writing your own campaign and you're not letting your players get away with brilliant ideas that you hadn't thought of. If you were like, I've got them now, oh man, this is going to be absolutely crazy, it's going to be balls to the wall, and one guy is like, I'm going to do this, and you're like, fuck, that's so smart, why didn't I think of that?
That's that emergent gameplay we've been talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. That's when you know, and that's when it makes it fun for you as well as a dungeon master or a storyteller, whatever you want to call it, because, you know, you've got to find a way to roll with the punches and still keep it reasonably believable, you know, like, oh, that's the beauty of the tabletop systems. If you're there to just roll dice and hit guy with my sword, man, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that's enjoyable too. It just seems to me at that point you might as well play a video game.
Yeah.
Because that's what that is good at.
Yeah.
Is the maths.
Speaking of video games, Austin, what have you been playing this week?
I beat Shadowrun, obviously. Obviously. Neither of the guests this week were probably the right people to talk about the other thing I played, Super Mario Galaxy 2. You're not about the Marios, Johnny?
It's not that I'm not about the Marios. It's just that my focus is not on the Marios. If you sit me down in front of a Wii and be like, do you want to play Super Mario Galaxy 2? I'll be like, yeah, sure. Pass it. It's just not something, you know, when I'm lying in bed at night, I don't go to myself, fuck, I meant to buy a Wii today.
Oops. Yeah, I mean, the general consensus is that the Mario Galaxy games are, like, unfucking touchable, and they're very good. But I'm not quite as like...
You're not pulling the Mario train?
I'm on board the Mario train. I am not trying to lay the tracks in front of it so much. My favorite game of all time is Super Mario 64. So that's the bar for me, is the 3D Mario games are what got me into gaming and why I love it so much. The Mario Galaxy games are kind of like, oh, this is going to sound so stupid, but I'm going to say it. They're kind of like the Call of Duty of platformers. They're big moments, big colors, you know, just these things are happening. Oh my God, look at that. But not a lot of it is really, you know, interactive. It's like all the colors and the stars, everything's going on, but mostly you're just running and jumping on Goombas.
Yeah.
So it is, I mean, they're super visually impressive, and there's, you know, there's stuff going on there, but for me, what made Mario 64 so special was that each level was, like, so iconic. Like, I still remember, you know, Dire Docks and the submarine level, and there's all the things. All of them are, like, super fresh in my memory. I played Super Mario Galaxy 2 yesterday, and I can't tell you a single level from another one. They're all just rocks in space. You jump from one to the next, and it looks good. Like, it's... that sounds so harsh. Like, this is clearly, like, a 9 out of 10 game. I just maybe I'm just trying to be contrarian here, bringing some balance to the force, maybe.
I don't know. I wish I could rebuttal with a little bit more authority here, but I mean, Super Mario 64 I've played. I have played that, but I haven't even touched either of the Super Mario Galaxy games. I'm assuming there's only 2.
Yes, there's 2. Well, a lot of people are super upset that the new Wii U Mario is not Galaxy 3. It is 3D World, which is kind of an expansion of 3D Land on the 3DS. I had to play it before, I'm sure, but I'm not super upset about that. I think 3D Land was a good game. I think 3D World will be as good, and I think the focus on co-op is will bring something cool to that. Mm-hmm. Get in play as Peach is always good. Galaxy, I don't know how much more they could really stretch it out, because it's mostly spectacle in a lot of ways, and that's cool, but I don't know. There's only so much mileage in that.
Well, people like the shiny things.
It's super shiny. It's the shiniest.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I know some people are going to say, like, Super Mario 64 hasn't aged well. Like, the camera is shit. It's like, yeah, the camera is shit. But, I don't know. It just seems to me that that game is made of special moments. And the Galaxy series is just one constant set piece. That sounds way more negative than I meant to. It's obviously, like, an amazing game. But that's the other thing I played a lot this week. I'm playing Pikmin 2 and 3 right now.
At the same time?
Not like... It's hard to explain.
Concomitantly?
I started Pikmin 2. I was getting near the end, and then my review copy of 3 showed up. So I played, like, the opening of that, and now I'm finishing 2, and then I'm going to go back and finish 3. So I didn't mean for this to happen. It's just kind of how it worked out.
No, I know that feeling when something new shows up in your lap, and you're like, oh, my God!
Yeah. So I popped it in a little bit. I'll have more in-depth thoughts on that eventually. I don't know. Yusuf already has our review up. I don't know. I might do something else special with it. I haven't decided yet. So Pikmin, guys, it's super cute, but stressful as all fuck, as it always has been.
And also kind of depressing sometimes, as I understand it.
Yeah, it's a slavery simulator, guys. So Nintendo is super all about slavery. Have you noticed that?
Let's see. We got Pikmin.
Yeah.
We got
Pokemon.
Yeah.
You know about the Denpa Men?
No, doesn't ring a bell.
It's a 3DS series where you basically enslave a team of men to fight for you. It's a thing.
All right.
No, I mean, I don't know if it's intentional. It seems to me that Nintendo has a lot of games where you are taking people against their will and forcing them into situations that are dangerous.
Yeah.
It's a thread. But I love Pikmin. You know what's really upsetting to me, and this is going to have like no effect on anyone listening. When I was growing up, because the first Pikmin came out when I was like 10, me and my brother called the iconic enemies. We called them grub dogs. I guess that was a name we made up. But upon finding out, or re-finding out that they're called Bulborbs, I was super upset. I was like, no, they're not Bulborbs. They're grub dogs. Don't be stupid. Like 10-year-old me was like indignant that wasn't their real name. But yeah, I mean, the Pikmin games they don't change that much. You use the little carrot guys to solve puzzles, and you got a time limit before you get eaten, and it's just really cute and not very accessible, and probably won't sell very many copies. It's not the killer app the Wii U needs right now.
Did you see the picture that Yusuf posted on his Twitter feed earlier today in regards to Pikmin 3?
Oh yeah, his hat.
That was perhaps the scariest thing I've ever seen in my entire life.
I'll probably link to it. Yeah. Yusuf gets like all kind of swag, which is weird because he's like the harshest reviewer on the site. He's always giving everyone. It's like I think he gave Pikmin 3 a 7, which is...
They all want to impress him, that's the thing.
Oh, okay. It's like reverse psychology. He's just like, your game sucks. I hate you. Give me stuff.
Anything else?
No, that's it. I'm
You played out?
I'm root deep in Pikmin, man. I gotta finish that up, and then Mario and Luigi Dream Team is next.
Right.
Review will be up as soon as possible. Keep your eyes open. I'm sure it's great, guys. It's Alpha Dream. They made Bowser's Inside Story, which is fantastic. So, I don't know how that could mess that up.
I do not know. Well, I guess that's it.
It sounds like it's it.
Yeah, sounds like it.
Is there anything else you wanted to touch upon?
Vaccinate your children.
Ah, Jesus. We're going to get at least one angry comment about that.
So?
Fair enough. There was something else I wanted to talk about, but I can't remember now.
Was it video games? Was it Indie Game the movie?
I feel like has everyone seen Indie Game the movie? Everyone should have by now. It's been out for 2 years.
I only just saw it yesterday for the first time. It's weird. I bought it on Steam when it came out, and then I forgot I bought it. And I was like, because of this whole Phil Fish thing, I was like, God, that reminds me, I still haven't seen Indie Game the movie. I should go, check out and see if Indie Game the movie. And I tried to go buy it on Steam, and it's like, oh, who do you want to give this to? And I'm like, but I want to give it to me. And then I looked at my library, and it was weird because I thought it was going to be in media under Steam, but no, it was in games. And it was right there, and I was like, oh, I already own that. Okay, I guess I'll just spend $5 and buy the special edition. Because there's all these, after-the-fact stories and shit like that.
It's so well made. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, I was very impressed. And it was like an Indiegogo project, wasn't it?
I believe, yeah, it was crowdfunded in some capacity.
Yeah. Well done.
Oh, I think I remember. Did I ever tell the GameCube story on here?
I don't know.
I have so many stories. I feel like I never get to do story time.
All right, let's hear the GameCube story. Spoilers. No spoilers.
No.
Not really.
Do you know how GameStops, at least where I am, they fingerprint you when you do trade-ins?
Really?
Yeah. I don't know if that's where it is everywhere. They do that in Florida. It's considered a pawn transaction, so they fingerprint you.
Huh. Interesting.
For every trade-in. They didn't used to, though. And obviously this isn't true, but what me and my brother always said is that it was our fault because we broke our GameCube and then brought it to GameStop and traded it in for credit and like bought other stuff because they didn't check or anything back then. It was just like the Wild West of GameStop trade-ins. And like a week after we did that, they immediately started like fingerprinting because I guess that's when like someone said, "Hey, this is a pawn transaction. You need to do this." But we, as like 10-year-olds, thought it was our fault, and so that was kind of like the narrative. It's like our GameCube broke the camel's back. So from now on, everyone is a fucking criminal. And I don't know how widespread that is. I'd be interested because I know like laws are different maybe in other places. I'm in the South. It's a little crazy here. But yeah, it's easier to get a gun than it is to trade in a video game. So
inspiring. I've never traded in a video game.
Yeah, digital's a thing.
No, I mean even before that, I still have like a whole bunch of Sega Genesis games, Sega Master System games.
Wow, I don't have any idea where my Sega Genesis is because I didn't trade it.
I don't know where any of my Atari 2600 stuff is. I don't know where that is. I don't know where my old Atari 2600 is. I don't know where any of my old cartridges are. I get this vague impression that possibly my parents may have given it away or like sold it at a garage sale or something like that.
I wonder where the 3DO that my neighbor owned is. Like where does one go to find a used 3DO?
Where does the 3DO go to die?
Probably eBay.
Is there like some massive 3DO graveyard out there that they slowly slump towards as their working life begins to come to an end?
Isn't that the plot of Brave Little Toaster 3?
Maybe. I only saw the first one.
I don't even know if there's 3. I think there's only 2.
I wouldn't know.
Guess what? Googling it.
Chicken butt?
No, don't be weird.
Can't help it. I was born this way.
There are...
There's probably like 7.
No. There's no way they make that many.
There's a bunch of them that went to like directly to VHS, I bet.
Okay, there's Brave Little Toaster, Brave Little Toaster Goes to Mars, and Brave Little Toaster to the Rescue. So there's 3.
At what point in time were they like, let's send them to Mars? Like, I'm sorry, we've done everything on Earth, so...
1998 is when they sent him to Mars. So.
Jesus.
I like that. The only thing on the Wikipedia entry is the movie got mixed negative reviews and was widely panned by fans of the first movie. Amazing.
Right, because nobody would have seen that one coming.
All right, so I guess that's the show this week. It was a roller coaster. We talked about dick controllers, and then we had serious talk about Phil Fish. And
I still maintain that dick controller could go completely unnoticed in your peripheral collection. It's got an analog stick on it. There's a power button. There's click buttons and shit like that. Nobody would know if you decided to slap that on the end of your Johnson. Not that I'm giving you an excuse to.
Oh, Lord.
Don't do it.
It was only a matter of time.
Go out. Meet a girl, meet a guy, visit someone that you like on the internet. Don't buy a dick wand.